Hello. Obviously, you're not doing a whole lot of walking or anything like that,
I know.
oh, that's our Rodney record. That's good. We talked to Kurt. Yeah. If they don't make it all the way to the next year, how's your bucket? How did you get it? He didn't look after your butt.
No, because he's taking care of my sister and his daughter.
Don't be giving the finger, you're on camera. Remember, you're on camera. Don't be giving the finger.
Thank you. Welcome all to the 2020 induction ceremonies of the City of Miramichi Sports Wall of Fame. Please stand and join Andy Ryder in singing our national anthem.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. Carton bras et porte les veilles, il se porte la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you, Andy. Once again, welcome to all, especially the inductees and their families and friends. Welcome to the mayor and city councilors present, representatives of all our sponsors, to all previously inducted honored members with us tonight, and especially to those who have come from a distance for this special occasion. This is our 16th induction ceremony since the Chatham Sports Wall of Fame was revived in 2005, and the 14th for the City of Miramichi Sports Wall of Fame. With this year's inductees, the wall will have 167 members, 64 builders, 15 teams, 78 athletes, and 10 pioneers. All the individuals who have been inducted as team members are, of course, recognized as honored inductees to the wall. At this time, I'd ask you to stand and observe a moment of silence in honor and remembrance of deceased honored members. We also wish to honor committee member Joe Breen, who contributed much to our program and passed recently. Thank you.
First started, y'all want to blow you up in the chair. Bobby. He's the one who got the player.
I had a good chat with him last Friday. Oh yeah, he's a lovely guy. Yeah.
all of the baskets. And now we have
Finish up your dessert. We got a request there to get this going. Terry Leggett's over here, he's got a heart problem, so. I heard that. Before the ceremony begins, ask Terry Wilson of the Beaubear Credit Union to address the gathering. Terry.
Thank you, Greg. On behalf of Beaubear Credit Union, we'd like to thank everybody for attending tonight. It's been a great honor for quite a few years to be the major sponsor of this prestigious event. I'd like to congratulate all this year's inductees and all the past inductees. The committee, they've done a great amount of work and keep this going every year, and we'd like to thank them for their work. So I'm not going to stay here too long because I only found out in the last half hour that I'm going to be up here. So I was going to write something down on the napkin, but they gave us cloth napkins. And so anyway, we've been a financial institution here in the river for over 80 years, and we plan on staying here just as long as the committee here. So we'd like to see us out to see us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Terry, and consider yourselves our sponsor for many years to come. The Board of Directors of the City of Miramichi Sports Wall of Fame has selected 1 athlete, 4 builders, 1 pioneer, and 1 team to be inducted into the Hall. The first inductee is Gary Dunn. Gary is being inducted as a builder. He's accompanied by Mike Rudder, and this presentation will be made by Toby LeBlanc. Gary Dunn has dedicated countless volunteer hours over the past 25 years to the greater benefit of the Miramichi sporting community. Gary served on the Chatham Minor Baseball Executive from 1994 to 2006, coached at all levels, winning a provincial championship with the Mosquitoes in 1999. He spearheaded a drive to get 2 fields by the Golden Hawk Rec Center up and running. Gary's focus then went to improving the field at James M. Hill as well as the Willie Jardine Field. He was also heavily involved in the construction of the 2 batting cages at Ironman Field, a well-used facility to this day. In 2005, Gary moved his coaching talents to Chatham Head. He soon became the keeper of Tigers Field. He, along with John Henry, worked tirelessly to improve the Waldo Hennis Memorial Field and maintain it in like-new condition, one of the best in the province. He has also coached the Tigers since 2009. His proudest coaching moment was this year's MVBL Championship. Gary also coached in the Chatham Minor Hockey program for 15 years, maintained and supervised his own outdoor rink, recognized in the community as the Dun Dome. His rink was always open, his skate sharpening was always free, and there was always a warm garage when it was cold. His awards include the Town Down Award in 2011 from Chatham Minor Hockey, the Rotary Club Vocational Service Award in 2014, the Anthony Gauguin Award, Chatham Head Volunteer of the Year in 2015. Gary Dunn's tireless dedication and work ethic has inspired Miramichi athletes for many years, often leading them to carry the torch of coaches and leaders. As a result, he is a welcome addition to our hall. We welcome Gary Dunn to the City of Miramichi Sports Hall.
No, you're in. Aren't they?
The new one.
Oh, are they? Yeah, you're in. I thought they were original.
But they go like that.
Mr. Chairman, fellow inductees, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to be here tonight. First of all, I want to thank Elton Cook for nominating me. Others I would like to thank are the Miramichi Wall of Fame Committee, my wife Ann, children of Brian and Laura for their support over the years. I would also like to thank my mother Mary, brothers Kevin and Tim. Two things that remain with me from my coaching days as great people I met, also seeing the boys improving their skills, but more importantly, moving on with their lives and being successful. The Miramichi Minor Hockey and the China Minor Ball provided me with many opportunities during my coaching years. I am very grateful to these organizations. The community of Chatham Head allowed me to help coach the Tigers and gave me an opportunity to work on the Waldo Henderson Memorial Ball Field. But most of all, they welcomed and accepted me into their community. To all the Tiger players that coached over the years, thanks for your support and making it fun for me to go to the ball. We are very fortunate to live in Miramichi with its rich sports tradition. We should be extremely thankful for the quality of life we have in this great community. 100 years from now, it may not matter how many teams we coach, but it does matter that a community may be a better place because we made a difference in the life of a player. Again, I would like to thank the Wall of Fame Committee for this honor. This has been a very special evening for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next inductee is Ray Kukkonen. Ray is being inducted as a builder. His presentation will be done by Bunny Dempsey. Sometimes, you know, we think we know everything about Miramichi Sports, and then you find out something that you really didn't know. And just listen to this man's resume. Okay? Ray Kukkonen has been a dedicated advocate for the sport of biathlon since 1967. A Miramichi resident since 1984, he competed as a biathlete from 1967 through 1983 in both civilian and military competitions. However, it was as an official and executive that he truly made his mark. He was elected as officials chair for Biathlon Canada in 1981, a position he held for 20 years. He served as Biathlon Canada's president 7 years, chairman 7 years, and vice president of administration for 4 years. He was also president of Biathlon Alberta for 4 years and president of Biathlon New Brunswick from 2000 to the present. He created the Biathlon Canada's official training program and authored their hosting policy under which all events under Biathlon Canada are conducted. Ray has officiated at all levels in Canada, including the World Cup in 1987, and was competition chief for the 1988 Olympic Winter Games. He qualified as an international referee in 1983 and was selected to the International Biathlon Union Technical Committee in 1984. He authored the IBU Modern Day Rules and his various roles in 8 Winter Olympic Games and numerous World Championships. He was also the Congress Speaker for 3 IBU Congresses. Ray's outstanding resume is highlighted by numerous awards, including the Order of New Brunswick, the Queen's Diamond and Silver Jubilee medals, and the Canada 125 medal. He has been inducted into the Canadian Olympic, Sports Officials Canada, and Canadian Forces Halls of Fame. The Miramichi Sports Wall of Fame is proud to induct Ray Kukkonen to its roster of honorees. We welcome Ray Kukkonen to the City of Miramichi Sports Wall of Fame.
Hey Ray, what took so long?
Actually, Bunny's a lot older than me. But he's still more limber. I prefer to ad lib, but with a restricted time, I can't do it. I'm not like the mayor, he can just go on. So I'm going to read my presentation. Mr. Chairman and members of the Board of Directors of the Sports Wall of Fame, Your Worship, and other distinguished guests, fellow inductees, ladies and gentlemen. It is certainly a very big honor for me to stand here as an inductee and as a relatively new mover to the Miramichi area in 1993 as opposed to 84 that my bio said. So 26 years ago. I now feel more like a real member of this community. I truly do. Several years ago, I attended a similar event right here in Miramichi, as a matter of fact. And when I got up to do my acceptance speech, I noticed a whole lot of puzzled looks on people's faces. It was a non-sport setting, so I was the only sport recipient of an award. And I realized that nobody knew what biathlon was. That was somewhat embarrassing, so I did a short description of what the sport is. So now I see no puzzled looks in this room, of course, but I still like to do a short presentation in order to promote my sport. So, and I'll read this part. Biathlon is an Olympic winter sport which combines cross-country skiing and small bore rifle marksmanship. There are various lengths of competitions based on gender and age, ranging from 6 kilometers to 20 kilometers. The athletes ski with the rifle on their back, and it weighs about 10 pounds, and they come and shoot at varying numbers of times depending on the length, shooting 5 rounds at 5 targets at 50 meters. The standing target, in prone or standing, the standing target is about this big, the prone target is about that big. So it's very, very difficult to come in with a high pulse rate and then try and keep steady enough to shoot. I think that is the essence of the popularity of biathlon, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it twice, because of this interest created by this totally contrasting two disciplines, the intensity required in cross-country skiing and the calmness and the steadiness required to accurately shoot. It makes for a very interesting setting, and it interests so many spectators that in Europe, biathlon is a top TV winter sport. Say it again, the top TV winter sport in Europe. It beats out hockey, sorry about that, and figure skating and so on. That's by actual market share, TV market share statistics. In terms of physical attendance at biathlon events, the bigger ones in like Ruppol in Germany and Oberhof, Germany, Lillehammer and Holmenkollen in Norway. The events, World Cup events and World Championships events draw up to 50,000 spectators, which is pretty huge in an outdoor event. Now switching to the local area, I see President Norm sitting there. We have just recently completed a club upgrade of the Miramichi Cross Country Ski Club. a $900,000 project, thanks to many people, including our mayor. And it includes trail upgrades, a new clubhouse, and a spanking new biathlon range. And we just recently, last Saturday, we held the first official biathlon competition there, and we had competitors from PI, Nova Scotia, and from all around New Brunswick, which was just amazing. Now, I want to move to the most important part of my presentation, that is thank yous to deserving people, many deserving people, and many more than I can name here. First of all, I'd like to thank my wife Shirley, who is not here because of health reasons, but she has put up with me for over 50 years, and has put up with my absences of, sometimes 6 weeks in a row in Europe, Asia, and all around North America, officiating in different events. Next, I'd like to thank my nominator, Paula Septon. I think many of you know her as Bell Alliant area manager, and she nominated me. And unfortunately, she also cannot be here tonight because she is the team administrator for the New Brunswick team attending the Eastern Canadian Championships in PEI right at the moment. And that is also the reason why we don't have very many biathlon attendees at this evening. Of course, I have to thank the board and the selection committee of the Wall of Fame for hosting this and for making the selections. Thank you. Next, I'd like to talk about my presenter, Bunny Dempsey, an old friend. I have respected him for many, many years as a fellow veteran and a really long-term cross-country skier. The interesting thing is that in 2012, I had the privilege of pinning the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Medal on Bunny Dempsey for his dedicated volunteer work. Bunny, thank you. So because of this Eastern Canadian Championships, there are only 2 biathlon people attending here with me tonight, and David and Linda Vasey. And I really want to thank David because David and I worked very, very hard and for very long in planning and designing and overseeing the construction of that new biathlon range. And Norm, you know that's not a lie. And there were several other people, but I know David and I were the main movers. So David, thank you for your work. Thank you for your friendship, and thank you and Linda for being here for me. And that's all. Thank you.
Our next inductee is James Gordon Morrell. Jim is being inducted as a pioneer. He's represented by his sons, Dave and Jim Morrell. The presentation is made by John Kopp, and David Morrell will do the response. Jim Morrell's stardom began in the original Miramichi Valley Baseball League, one of the premier baseball leagues in New Brunswick in the 20s and 30s. He quickly became the most outstanding pitcher in the league, leading the Newcastle team to a provincial championship in 1931. His skill in the field and with the bat made him an adversary to respect, even when he wasn't pitching. His career was interrupted by World War II, and he enlisted in the Canadian Army and served with the North Shore Regiment. Having access to the best players from Miramichi, the regiment captured the Canadian Army Championship with the lanky pitcher from Newcastle leading the way. On his return from the war, Jim continued his excellent career as a cornerstone pitcher for senior teams across the province. He led the powerhouse St. Stephen team to a maritime championship in 1938. Jim founded Little League Baseball in Fredericton in 1954, serving as league president for 5 years, while also coaching his team to 6 city titles. One of his lasting legacies is his founding of Home Plate, which has become the social center for the Brunswick Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremonies. Jim was inducted in 1971 as a member of the St. Stephen St. Croix Miramichi Championship team. In 1964, the City of Fredericton named the field Morrell Park in honor of his contribution to Little League Baseball. Jim Morrell is a welcome addition to our wall. We welcome Jim Morrell posthumously to the City of Miramichi Sports Hall of Fame.
I thought you were taller. Thank you, Greg. You notice I brought my notes in a Tommy Green folder. That's in your honor. Good evening, everybody. First, I would like to congratulate the other inductees and their families on their inclusion onto the Miramichi Sport Wall of Fame. I would like to thank the selection committee, in particular John Kopp, for recognizing the feats of my father. Not the feet of my father, the feats. It's my pleasure to act as a representative of Jim Morrell's family, which includes my brother, his wife Beverly, my wife Susan, 45 years, 36 happy. Don't go there. Our eldest daughter Shelley, and our granddaughter Madison, our youngest daughter Angie, her husband Mark Kennedy, and our grandchildren Charlotte and David. To our dad, there were some very important things in his life. The North Shore Regiment, the Royal Canadian Legion, baseball, and above all, his beloved Miramichi. The first Morrell to arrive on the Miramichi was Hugh Morrell from Ballybay, Ireland in 1824. Dad came from a farm family of 10. The family homestead was on the King George Highway, just down from Ozzy's Esso and Ned Russell's farm and the Bowie School. With the death of Lois Martin here in Chatham a year ago, the line of Morrells on the Miramichi ended. Dad's sport was baseball. He worked in the woods all winter. He was hard as nails, and he played baseball in the summer. The submarine pitch was his trademark. Newcastle teams in his day played at Farrell Field, which was behind what is now Harkins Middle School. It was just a pasture, and literally there were cows in the outfield when you played, which is something to think about. Dad was in his mid-30s, or mid-20s rather, when the Depression hit in the 30s. It was tough times. It was 50 cents a day to work in the woods. And at that time, maritime baseball teams often imported players, especially people who could pitch. And Dad became an arm for hire. He played all over New Brunswick. He said he could make more playing baseball in the summer months than he could working all winter in the woods, and it was warmer, and it was more fun, and it was a whole lot easier. Playing in St. Stephen with the St. Croix, my dad met our mother, Vesta Weber. She was the daughter of the St. Croix team treasurer and chief organizer, our grandfather, Len Weber. The two of them, Len and my dad, were inducted together into the New Brunswick Sports Hall of Fame in 1971. Our parents were married December 28, 1940. 7 months later, Dad shipped overseas with the North Shore Regiment and came back 5 years later. He lost a lot of his friends, and he never forgot them. Along the way, while still in England, the North Shore Regiment played in the Canadian Army Championships. And Dad said they were a ragtag outfit from the Miramichi and the North Shore. There were 12 or 14 of them. They had no uniforms, but he said, boy, could they play baseball. And they did. And Dad pitched a two-hitter to beat a BC regiment in the final at Wembley Stadium. After the war, our parents settled in St. John. Jim and I were born there, and we don't tell anybody that. Just so you know. It was on to our childhood home in Fredericton in 1949. Dad started the Fredericton Little League in 1953. He built a field at the racetrack, and later on Waterloo Row by the river, now called Morrell Park, an honor bestowed by the city. of which Dad was extremely proud. It had a grass infield, dugouts, fences, and no cows. And among hundreds of other kids, a guy by the name of Bev Bonds started his baseball career on that field. Growing up, we lived in Fredericton, but home to Dad was always the Miramichi. Newcastle was a frequent stop. I remember Art and George Stothard and their store on the square. Dad talked about going to the Bowie School and Harkins Academy. He reminisced about working at Sinclair's Mill. Dad spoke of working in the family 150-acre woodlot, skating on the river and fishing in Browns Brook. And he told of listening on his crystal radio to the Boston Red Sox and Yankee games on the family porch. Our dad would be very honored to be here tonight to be inducted onto the Wall of Fame in his beloved Miramichi. So on behalf of my brother and I and our family, a most sincere thank you to all of you and the selection committee for this tremendous honor for our Miramichi Day.
Our next inductee is Jonathan Saunders. John has been inducted as an athlete, and the presentation is made by Ken Martin. Jonathan Saunders' career as an elite catcher with the Chatham Senior Ironmen spanned 16 years. A team leader both on and off the field, his confidence and determination inspired his teammates in tough situations. He donned the tools of ignorance in 1993 in the Chatham system and blossomed from there. He was the Midget Ironman MVP the next 2 years and was named to the Brunswick Selects team. In 1997, as captain of the Brunswick Candy Games team, he was named to the Brunswick Player of the Year. Despite these impressive credentials, it was his play as a senior Ironman that really stood out. In 1998, John was the league's Rookie of the Year, while also the MVP of UNB's National Silver Medalist. In all, he competed in 12 national senior tournaments, winning 4 bronze medals. He was the All-Star catcher in 2011. His Ironman teams won 4 New Brunswick Senior Baseball League titles during his tenure. John was one of those rare performers who excelled on both offense and defense. He was named Senior League All-Star Catcher 9 times. His career batting average was .306 with 56 home runs and 301 RBIs. He is in the Ironman all-time top 10 list in several categories, including number 1 in RBIs. He was also named the Brunswick Senior Baseball League Defensive Player of the Year 6 times. John was placed on the Chatham Ironman Honor Roll this year. John has given back to the sporting community since his retirement. He's coached hockey and baseball since 2013 and spearheaded the Nordine Outdoor Rink revitalization in 2017. It is evident that Jonathan Saunders is a worthy and welcome addition to the Miramichi Sports Wall of Fame. We welcome John Saunders to the City of Miramichi Sports Wall of Fame.
The kids are going to bail me out and come up here, but no. Up here. Linus had his blanket, and I got 2 kids. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and Terry Leggett. Thanks so much for coming. Before I get started, I have to offer a slight disclaimer. I was speaking with the kitchen staff, and they warned me that there was a lot of onions in the kitchen, and if somehow my eyes became watery, it was only due to the onions. To be honest, when I was notified of my induction, I was instantly overcome with three emotions. The first and most important was a sense of pride and accomplishment. I was truly honored and humbled. Secondly, I questioned whether or not I was deserving. Third, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a bit concerned about having to prepare a speech. But since I'd have 2,160 hours to worry about that part, no big deal, right? Thus, it became essential for me to establish a plan to overcome this fear. I figured I'd go with the old faithful strategy of visualizing everyone in the room naked. But when I saw my lifelong buddies Patty Quinn and Jason Sproul in attendance, I knew this was not a viable option. That worked out well, good. All jokes aside, I'd like to say what an extreme honor it is to be standing here in front of you, receiving such an amazing accolade. I would also like to offer sincere congratulations to my fellow inductees. It's a pleasure to be sharing the evening with you. Thanks to my friend and one of the best teammates I've ever had, Terry Leggett, for nominating me. I'll tell you this about Terry. There's no more loyal teammate to be had, especially if the bench is clear. Heck, I once saw Terry go into the stands at Kiwanis Park and single-handedly take down an 85-year-old man. I was right behind you, buddy. Also, thanks to the Miramichi Sports Wall of Fame board members for deeming me worthy of such an honor. I'm appreciative beyond words. As a young boy growing up in South Nelson, I was not unlike most boys from the Miramichi. I loved to play ball. Since there weren't too many other kids around my age, my dad, brother, and Will Doyle can attest to the countless hours we'd spend in the backyard, ripping line drives into the family garden, and endless variations of ball we played during the summer. Christ, we killed more vegetables than the raccoons did. Being from Nelson, it was natural I got my start playing softball. Softball was a great game, and I have many fond memories playing it. But as I got older and started going to junior high school in Chatham, I made lots of new friends who played baseball. I hear stories of them traveling around the Maritimes, playing upwards of 50 games a summer, and even going to national tournaments. At the same time, there seemed to be fewer games to be played in softball, so trying baseball in Chatham seemed very appealing. As a shy and nervous 13-year-old boy, the move to baseball was initially an anxious one. My aspirations were to play maybe house league, or with some friends who were in the age group below me. However, the manager of the Bantam AAA team convinced my mom to bring me to their tryout and give it a shot. I remember being extremely intimidated and feeling like I didn't belong. Eventually, I must have overcame this nervousness and ended up making the team. To that point in my life, that was my biggest accomplishment in sports. The feeling was surreal. I was going to play on a team with complete uniforms, warm-up shirts, hats, and jackets. I felt like I'd made the pros. That was my big league moment. To this day, I'm truly grateful to Mike Sproul for seeing something in me and giving me that opportunity. I guess chubby little second baseman with silky smooth mitts that hit bombs were hard to come by. A modern day Jose Altuve, without the buzzer, of course. In the same breath, I should thank the fine folks at Ed Subs for allowing me to use their facilities before every practice and game that summer. I guess the nerves were around even back in the early years. I have many people to be thankful for, those of whom have played a great role in me being here. Thanks to my mom and dad for the countless hours and sacrifices you both made, carting my brother and I around the country to play the game we loved. I'm forever grateful. And I know Mom would be extremely proud of her boy tonight. Dad, I used to wonder why you guys didn't have all the expensive toys and gadgets, the best of furniture, or go on exotic trips. Now I know. Thank you. Thanks to my amazingly supportive wife, Mary. So it's 2002, and I'm living in Truro, and I meet the girl of my dreams. And then along comes Mary. Everything is going great, but as May approaches, I let her know. Mary, it's fall season, and I think I'm moving home. I don't think this made much sense to her at the time, as I've been playing ball in Truro with a really great bunch of guys. I returned home to play for the Ironmen, and it wasn't long before Mary understood why. Heck, it wasn't long before she was our biggest fan, wearing Ironman swag, selling tickets, flipping burgers, and maybe even heckling opposing fans and players once or twice. The same thing happened again in 2005. I was again working in Truro, but as spring approached, playing for the Ironman was where I longed to be. After all, we were going to Kamloops for nationals. This time, she fully understood. The fact that we got married and had both children after ball season isn't a coincidence. Thank you, Mary. All those years wouldn't have been possible without your complete understanding and support. Thanks to all the amazing teammates and coaches I've had over the years, and I'll take this second to acknowledge my buddies that are here that won a gold medal at the 2019 championships. I'm very proud of you guys. Special thanks to Greg, Daryl, and Ronnie for making baseball so easy to play. All we had to do was show up. We were so fortunate to play in such an amazing facility and always had the best of the best equipment. The Ironmen are a pro organization, and there's so many others to thank, especially all the foot soldiers that worked tirelessly behind the scenes so we could just play. My good friend Darlene O'Donnell was with the team for as long as I'd played, and I'd also like to thank her for her tireless contributions and friendship. To all my former teammates that are here, thank you. I consider each and every one of you my brothers, especially Rolly. I was so fortunate to be able to wear the Ironman jersey for so long. I've always said playing senior ball in Chatham is like Little League in Williamsport. At national tournaments, we'd host it. I'd talk to the players and they couldn't believe the crowds and support we'd get. They'd say, we only get parents, wives, and girlfriends at our games. Hopefully not wives and girlfriends at the same time, though. Playing in a town where being a ball player becomes your identity was special to me. Where you become known for the number on your jersey or the position you played was something I cherish. Not a day goes by that I don't reflect on some of the great moments we had at that ballpark. Hearing cheers and encouragement from the stands or being congratulated by teammates and celebrating wins together are feelings and memories that I will genuinely take to my grave. I'll always be proud to be an Ironman. The only sad part in all of this is that I guess it officially means my playing days are over. I think internally I thought maybe I'd figure out a way to turn back the clock. But alas, now Mary and I get to spend our time with our two beautiful children, Charlotte and Luke, watching them grow as amazing little people and athletes. I can only hope that they have the same wonderful experiences I did. In closing, I can think of no other words other than thank you from the bottom of my heart. And of course, as a wise man once told me, hit it to Red Bank!
It's entirely possible that once or twice John did it at the Red Bank. And speaking of wives and girlfriends, the next, no connection. I'll start over. This is a new one. The next inductee is Gerald Smith. Gerald has been inducted as a builder. His presentation being made by Norm Brown. Gerald's daughter, Mary Ann Smith, will respond on behalf of Gerald. Gerald Smith has dedicated a large portion of his adult life to ensuring that Miramichi families have the opportunity to participate in the life sports of hiking, mountain biking, and cross-country skiing. Perhaps his greatest contribution came in his leadership in designing and creating the hiking and biking trails at French Fort Cove, providing 4 seasons of outdoor sports for Miramichiers. Gerald arranged a lease of land from the Noranda Company, developed the French Fort Cove master plan, and organized volunteers to assist in trail cutting and bridge construction. After seeing what had been accomplished, Noranda deeded the land to the city of Miramichi in 1995. That year, Gerald also founded the Miramichi Mountain Biking Club and served on its executive for 15 years. Gerald was also a cross-country ski enthusiast and his contributions to that sport were extensive. He was an executive member of the Miramichi Cross Country Ski Club for 30 years, 4 as president. He gave adult ski lessons for 29 years, coached the competitive team 6 years, and was assistant provincial team coach for 2 years. He was twice awarded the Dr. Gupta Award for outstanding service to cross-country skiing. He was a driving force in the design and extension of the ski trails at the Nelson Club, some of the best and most diverse in the Maritimes. He was instrumental in working with UPM Kimini to construct 4 kilometers of lighted trails enabling after-dark skiing. Gerald Smith's efforts have left a lasting legacy for the enjoyment of Miramichi, future generations of Miramichiers, making him a welcome addition to the Miramichi Sports Wall of Fame. We welcome Gerald Smith to the City of Miramichi Sports Wall of Fame.
It is an honor to stand here on my father's behalf. As many of you know, Gerald spent his working life as a lawyer. He now suffers from word-finding difficulty called aphasia, which basically means he has difficulty speaking, so you're stuck with me. The long-winded speeches from his past are no longer his strength. We're not here to acknowledge his oratory skills, but rather to recognize him as a builder of trails, a coach, and a tireless volunteer. Hundreds of people enjoy the efforts of Gerald's trail building every time they bike, hike, or ski in the Miramichi. But they may never have stopped to think about where those trails came from. Growing up, Gerald spent a great deal of time enjoying the woods around the French Fork Cove. Later, he had a vision to ensure that others would enjoy it as well. A good weekend for Gerald would involve a work party where he would head into the woods with other dedicated, like-minded volunteers with axes, a compass, and a plan. Little do we know the outcome of these strangely named work parties would be the pride of the Miramichi. Gerald's commitment to conservation is evident in the fact that after careful consultation with biologists, the trails were designed to take you close enough to experience the beauty, but not close enough to harm it. His love of the woods is infectious, and he wants everyone to experience it. From a young age, my father would teach his 3 children about the flora and fauna of the woods, and instill in us a love of being active. We all skied before we walked, and we thought it was normal to be able to identify every species of tree and plant. I actually thought it was strange when one of my friends couldn't identify a lady slipper at the ripe old age of 6. He wanted others to enjoy nature in an active way and really made it accessible to everyone 4 seasons of the year. A compass was never far away. When Gerald and Nancy first went to visit my brother, who lived in New York City, they exited the subway and walked up the stairs to street level. As Nancy checked her map to see which direction they should go, Gerald pulled a compass from his pocket. On a busy corner in Manhattan at 9 o'clock in the morning. He attracted the attention of some very important-looking Wall Street traders who, in their 3-piece suits and briefcases, came to his rescue. He simply asked them to point him north, and he would find his way from there. He probably had a bike tube and some ski wax in his pocket, too. I recall being home, I live in Newfoundland, so I recall being home at the grocery store a few summers ago, and a friendly woman stopped me. I had no idea who she was, and she couldn't wait to tell me how my dad taught her to ski with great patience and kindness. She felt so strongly about his role as a coach that she really needed to share that experience. As a family, we are exceptionally proud of Gerald's lifelong dedication to helping others enjoy an active outdoor lifestyle and his lasting contribution to the community. We feel privileged to have been a witness to it all. On behalf of my father, Gerald Smith, I would like to thank the Miramichi Sports Wall of Fame for this award and the acknowledgement of his role as a builder. He is humbled and very honored to be inducted.
Our next inductee is Carl Waters. Butch is being inducted as a builder, and the presentation is being made by Peter Neville. Carl Waters' passion for hockey began more than 40 years ago. He has continually juggled his home and work lives to accommodate this passion. Hockey has brought him around the globe to places like Iceland, India, Mexico, and Australia. Butch was an accomplished defenseman during his playing career, plying his trade for such New Brunswick senior teams as the 1986 Hardy Cup champion Miramichi Gagnon Packers and the Bathurst Alpines. He also played senior hockey in Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, and Australia. His coaching career began in Miramichi in 1993 as head coach of the Pee Wee AAA Beavers. In ensuing years, he advanced to the Bantam and Midget AAA programs. In 2000, he coached the Brunswick Boys Under-17 Program of Excellence. In 2001, he took his skills to Iceland, became assistant coach of that country's 2001 national team. His contribution to ladies hockey began in 2004 as coach of the James and Mill team and head coach of the Brunswick Ladies Program of Excellence. In 2005 and 2007, he was the assistant coach of Team Atlantic. In 2008, he became the head coach as well as the director of hockey operations. He coached the Miramichi Rivermen from 2010 to 2013. Since 2014, he has coached with the Miramichi Timberwolves. He recently has taken on the role of head coach of the New Brunswick Under-18 Aboriginal team. Butch has completed countless coaching certifications, including level 1 and 3 theory instructor. He has taught as a number of prestigious hockey schools and served on many hockey-related boards. He has also refereed since 2004. It is the Miramichi Sports Wall of Fame's pleasure to induct this true student of the game. We welcome Carl Waters to the City of Miramichi Sports.
Oh, there's some tough acts to follow. Not having met Mr. Kokanen, I got one thing to say. What took so long? Mr. Morell, I spent some time my early teenage years living just above Bowie School and played ball in the pastures and behind my house. And recently received a photo from my cousin in Nova Scotia of my grandfather coming back from a baseball game in not far from Yeeps battlefield with the North Nova Scotia Highlanders. There were a group of guys walking back with bats and gloves over their shoulders, heading into battle. Shortly after that, he was wounded in the Battle of Yeeps. So we just a short time tonight, there's connections being made. So it's good to see that. 100 board members, guests, and fellow inductees, congratulations to my fellow inductees. You know you've been around for a long time when you're coaching or refereeing with the kids of players you coached 30 years ago. Michael and Ian back in the corner, you're two of the guys I'm talking about, and now working with your sons on the ice, either in clinics or refereeing, and it's nice to stay involved with the young people. My list of people to thank, like those who have spoken before me, is long, so I'll try to do my best to maintain some structure and not wander off. On a side note, before I get into recognizing those that helped me get to this honor, I do have a couple of announcements for my fellow inductees, John and Gary. For John, it was always a pleasure to call games from behind your large frame. As an umpire, safety first policy is never a bad thing. And I certainly felt safe as an umpire working behind you. I don't know if too many people in the room are umpires besides my buddy Miles, over here somewhere, I think. But There's a term we use called the slot, and it's where they want us calling pitches from. And the slot requires you to move in the extreme inside part of the plate as far as you can to get the best view of the pitch that you can possibly get. And when you're working behind a guy of John's stature, there was times when I felt like I was halfway to third base trying to make a call on a right-handed pitcher. I just had to keep pushing over. But John would be up there at the bat and he'd take a rip, like Greg said, he's trying to hit the ball to Red Bank, and sometimes he would miss. He'd actually miss the ball, and he'd pretty near come out of his cleats. And then he kind of dust himself off and he'd look down and pretend he wasn't talking to me, and he'd put his batting gloves on and say, "Was that a strike?" And I said, and whether it may have been high, low, inside, or outside, my answer was always yes, because I wanted you to rip at it again so I see how far you could hit it. For Gary, during my last game at first base in Chatham Head last summer, I noticed a couple of blades of grass that were longer than others. You may want to get on top of those early in the spring. I always appreciated refereeing when Gary's teams were playing because I knew there would be a low risk of any behavior or discipline problems. Because the players knew that aside from any penalties they would get from the referee, they would be answering to Gary after the game. You coach for the good of the game, and if your team won or lost, your players are going to do it the right way. The officials in Miramichi Minor Hockey appreciated it. It is certainly an honor for me to be inducted here tonight and share space in the wall with so many great athletes, builders, and sports personalities. And it's a special honor to share space with one member in particular, my mother Stephanie, who is presently in Saskatchewan visiting with my sister, and due to some health issues could not travel. Thank you to my parents, Carl and Stephanie, for passing on their passion for sports. Most here tonight would probably know that both were accomplished athletes and coaches in their own rights. They gave me an early start in sport and plenty of encouragement to try a wide variety of sports and activities, which exposed me to a broad array of experiences and the philosophies and methods of many coaches, teachers, leaders, officials, and administrators. As corny and cliche as it may sound, I wouldn't be here and wouldn't have achieved this without them. To my wife Suzanne, thank you for enduring my love of sports and giving me the freedom and support to venture near and far in search of new challenges and adventures that were calling my name. I think you know that the adventure continues. Thanks for being there when times were tough and being my sounding board after a tough game I may have had as a coach, after dealing with conflict on the ice or field as an official. And thanks also for being there for 30 years during my corrections and Canada employment, when I would often come home to vent or just share some of the challenges that I may have faced, such as doing searches of the refrigerators and freezers with my fellow co-worker, Rebecca Stewart. You have been my biggest supporter, and I wouldn't have been able to accomplish what I've done without you. And I'd like to also recognize my daughter, Kirsten, in Calgary. She can't travel back till she started recovering from her broken kneecap. Thanks to Rob Campbell for submitting my name for consideration, and the board of directors for deeming me to be an appropriate candidate for inclusion on the wall. Where am I? Okay, to Eric Cameron. Where's Eric at? Eric somewhere? My former high school coach who steered me towards Dalhousie University, and Pierre Paget. One of my fonder memories of my time in high school is taking Eric, if I remember correctly, on his first fishing trip. Maybe his one and only, I don't know. Myself and a friend of mine took Eric on a 3-day hiking and camping journey to a remote lake to do some trout fishing. I think I was in grade 12. Eric was probably mid to late 20s at the time. At that time, Eric knew us as students and athletes. After that trip, I think we moved up to the lifelong friendship level. Thanks to Pierre Paget for his support and guidance for bringing me into this world of understanding the biomechanics of skating and his message of teaching. Pierre is still active in Germany, running hockey programs and skill development programs in southern Germany, I believe. The technical knowledge of the game that Pierre imparted on me has been invaluable in my coaching progress. Tim Ripley, many people in this room probably remember that name. My junior A coach from 78 to 81. Tim invited me to try out in the fall of 78 with the Halifax Lions, and I never looked back. I spent 3 seasons playing defense for Tim and had a very successful career in junior hockey, and greatly impacted by Tim. Tim was a player's coach who had good relationships with all of his players on and off the ice. He created a relaxed clubhouse, a general team atmosphere, but had the ability to bring the serious aspects of the game quickly into focus. Tim allowed me to play my game, applying the right amount of pressure and giving me the right challenges at the right time, pushing me just enough each season to raise my game and help me reach the goals we had set for myself and the team. Tim always had a dedicated group of assistants and support staff around for the years I was there, and they all played key roles in the success our team had. Tim's coaching style and his competitive nature have carried over into my own coaching, and I thank Tim Ripley for that. Heading out west a little bit, some people that played a key role in my development or my initiation to coaching hockey was Louise Smith, Frank Fair, and Dora Flett from Fort Vermilion area, west of High Level, Alberta. Together during the 85-86 season, we built a team made up of Cree, Métis, and non-native boys who would go on to win our elimination tournament to become the first team to represent Alberta at the Arctic Winter Games that year held in Whitehorse in 1986. Over the years, I've spent time on the board of directors for Miramichi Minor Hockey and various hockey New Brunswick councils where I had the good fortune of working with in different capacities. Two legends in their own right who have done much to advance hockey on a local and provincial level are Harold Flieger and Paul O'Hara. I owe them both thanks for their support during my coaching time and during my involvement with Miramichi Minor Hockey and Hockey New Brunswick, whether I was seeking support in attending a provincial or national clinic, or if I was seeking advice on how to handle a situation I was faced with on the team I was coaching. I knew I could count on Paul and Harold for their advice and support. The passion and leadership they displayed as organizers and administrators has played a big role in my continued involvement in the administrative side of the game. Thanks to Bernie Keating for his support during the many years I spent in the Riverman organization and the effort he puts into making sure the Wednesday night hockey group continues to operate. I know it's only old-timers hockey, but some of us are still going to the NHL. I think Bernie may have out-volunteered many of us. Okay, many that know Bernie, he's still at it. Gets some grandkids in the game, and certainly no kids in the game, and he still comes. He just loves to be around the rink. So, two hockey teams I spent the most time with as a coach are the Midget Rivermen. Prior to 2010, when I was there, I spent several years back and forth with Peter on the ice and in the rink. So, I want to thank Peter Nevin and Jamie Keys for having me as part of their programs over all those seasons. It's not easy to have enduring programs and requires unending hours of work, and those two guys certainly put it in, so thanks for the opportunity. Girls can play hockey too, and play it very well. Any female hockey players in the crowd? No? It's too bad. Anyway, girls can play hockey too and play it very well. Some people in this room tonight may remember the name Stan Henniger, a great athlete in his own right when he was here. His granddaughter, Jillian Saunier, will be competing soon with Team Canada in the Ladies World Hockey Championship tournament being played in Halifax and Truro later this spring. So I thought that was a little note of local interest. I coached Jillian for a couple years with Team Atlantic. In 2001, I led a group that formed the first Icelandic ladies hockey team. When I got there was no such thing as ladies hockey. It was all men's. The first games we played were a series of friendly matches in Fusen, Germany. Since that time, the ladies have been building on that experience and continue to get girls involved to help grow the ladies' game in Iceland. Their hard work will pay off when 2 days from now, on February 23rd, in Iceland, the 2020 Division II Group B Ladies IIHF World Hockey Championships will begin. And they'll be streaming some of those games on Facebook if anybody's interested. Two players that were on that 2001-2002 team that went to Fusen with me will be playing for Team Iceland on Sunday. I carry some pride in having been part of the pathway to this achievement. So it's Afram Iceland, go Iceland. Every so often around Christmas time, my mother and father would show their collection of slides from their time in Europe. They would talk about towing their trailer across Europe for vacations, or about my father going to Lucerne, London, or Berlin for a hockey game. My father played for the RCF Flyers, who at that time represented Canada in the world of hockey in Europe. I would see pictures of my father and his team standing in front of the airplanes and trains he used to get to games, or I would see photos of them in front of such landmarks as the Brandenburg Gate, the Eiffel Tower, or Big Ben. There was no doubt that my desire to combine travel and hockey was initiated through those early slides telling the stories of my parents' time in Europe. For everybody in the hockey world, the letters NHL represent the National Hockey League. When I was trying to put this speech together, I put those letters in a different context. For me, those letters represent my version of a nomadic hockey life. Like many, I may not have had the financial success and level of recognition that goes along with a career in the National Hockey League, but I've had life experience through my nomadic hockey life that have left me rich in experiences and relationships that continue to have meaning since my early adventure to Australia. Since that early journey in 1984, I've had the good fortune of coaching or teaching hockey on 4 continents, in 7 countries, and have been able to crisscross Canada several times. My travels through hockey have allowed me to see and do things that I most likely would never have done without the connections formed through it. Swimming the Great Barrier Reef, goose hunting along the Peace River, soaking in a natural hot spring in Whitehorse, walking the floor of a volcanic crater in Iceland, or visiting ancient Mayan ruins in Mexico City, or living with Muslim and Buddhist families of the Himalayas. These are just some of the highlights I've been able to take from my hockey-related travels. Whether it was Australia, Canada, Iceland, Mexico, or India, the people that I have met along the way have made the experience of being thousands of miles from home much more enjoyable. Winning or losing fade away, or are remembered on a photo or plaque on a wall. The enduring memories of friendship that are formed on the field of competition, on the buses, and in the boardrooms are what I will always remember and cherish the most.
As we prepare for this last group, I'd ask the people to my right to give lots of room, because among them, Miles Brito has to find his way up here. The next inductee is the 1976 Napan Braves. The presentation to the players will be made by Darlene O'Donnell, and Bill O'Donnell will respond on behalf of the Braves. Come on up, guys. The Napan Braves enjoy a rich history in New Brunswick baseball. Originally formed in 1959 as the Lumberjacks, the team took on the Braves moniker in 1962 under the direction of Bill O'Donnell. The team went on to become the heart and soul of the community, winning their first intermediate B title in 1964, as well as 11 straight Miramichi Valley championships from 1966 to 76. The 1976 Braves were the strongest of these teams, sporting an outstanding 44-4 overall record. They were solid on the mound, led by their ace, Walter Voth, and possessed a powerful lineup. They were young and fast and featured an airtight defense. In the provincial final, the team rallied from behind in the 9th for a walk-off win. At the Atlantic final in Basin Inn, Jerry Hackett pitched 18 straight innings, defeating the host team 8-0 and PEI 10-1. Walter Voth then fashioned a 2-hitter to win the final 12-2. Looking over the character of the players on their roster, it is easy to see why this team was successful. The team was self-supporting, with the players always pitching in to raise operating funds. Most continued to support baseball following their retirements. Team members included Bill O'Donnell, Lester Hardy, Tom Hanna, Bruce Hanna, Keith Cowan, Walter Voth, Francis Dixon, Floyd McNaughton, Ian Fleeker, Ken Cripps, Jim Matheson, Brian O'Shea, Miles Brito, Pat Votor, Gary Votor, Ed Votor, Ken Hackett, Jerry Hackett, Jimmy Hackett, Mike Hanna, Stephen Cowan, and David M. Holmes. We welcome the 76 Napan Braves to the Miramichi Sports Wall of Fame.
An email yesterday saying it's 30 degrees. I said, yes, minus 32 down here. So, one thing I'd like to say, I think every coach or manager should have the right to go to heaven. Because I said that to the wife, she said, well, Billy, it's your last chance. Our only chance. Anyway, we're, tonight, Jerry Hackett, one of our players, big players in the thing that won 18 innings, he's in Pittsburgh, and he can't get away, foreman on a job down there. And he was all tickled at his brother Jimmy to tell him he's going to see Toronto beat Pittsburgh. Well, Crosby took care of that one that night. And Eddie Votor, we had an operation, he's not able to be here tonight. And Brian O'Shea is in Florida. And of course, Kenny Cribbs, who was a big part, delivered the big hit for us in the 9th inning, in the provincial, in the 9th inning, walk-off one. And Kenny doesn't go to many of these things. And I heard the fellas talking about a submarine pitch. I used to try to do that. I thought Kenny Cribbs had introduced the submarine pitch. And I would have to say that the 76 Braves team was one of the best I coached. There was no certain few this team that made this team great. It was all of you. Each and every one of you, regardless of where you resided. The Braves were in the New Brunswick champion, in the New Brunswick finals in 72, 74, 75, 76, and 78. However, it was this team here tonight, the 76 Braves, that done it all. We're the only team in the tournament that weren't allowed pickups. Everybody else was allowed pickups. And I was happy that we didn't have to allow pickups, but I didn't show my happiness was in being baseball, even though I was on the committee. But where were we going to put them? I know that I knew we could do it all with this team. It was because every player knew we had a replacement for every position, and we would not hesitate to do so if we needed to be. That's what made the team great. The other thing I liked about this team, well, when we played a double hitter, or on the next day, every player showed up with a nice clean uniform the whole season. That's respect for the game. And so 3 great persons that have passed on, they're big members of the team, were Gary Votor, pitcher Walter Bob, assistant coach Lester Hardy. I know that he's looking down on us here tonight. I also miss here tonight is the voice of David Michael Holmes, the radio announcer, that interrupted Billy Graham's broadcast in the Atlantic Finals to bring the scores of the game back to Graham. I couldn't get a hold of David Michael Holmes. We tried everywhere, we didn't get a hold of him to announce to him that we'd be at the National Hall. And you know what? The umpires from that game, came with a case of beer. Nobody gave Billy a case of beer from the umpires. But I'm glad they liked Billy Alon so much because Miles Greedo and Phil more of them become umpires after playing for me. That's how they like the game. Is that right, Miles? You're straight moron. But to all our great fans in the community of Navan St. Margaret's for their support, looking over the past write-ups, I came this across one that said all 5 minor Navan Braves team going to the provincial finals, including the intermediate or junior B done. 5 teams, everyone was going. That was my last year as president, so I was very happy with that. So that was in their division. So the Navan Braves have left their mark on provincial and Atlantic baseball, but not only there, but through juniors, seniors, and even one all the way to the Major League Baseball. Jason Dixon. They were phenomenal. And he's the only player in baseball that won his first game in the majors against the New York Yankees and made the All-Star team. That's quite a feat. And a lot of people might realize that most of my time was spent in Navan. But 1986, Navan Braves didn't have a team, so Brian King come over. Well, we'd go to Douglastown. So Brian and I, and we had a good team over there in Douglastown '86. We finally lost. But then I was on the Ironman committee, and Eddie McDermott was coaching. And then he got ejected or something happened like that anyway, and they gave him 3 games off. And so I took Eddie's place. Not many people knew that. And, anyway, they were on the rebuilding thing, and I think I had, first time I had a losing record, 1-2. But I know that many of you might have seen on Facebook, is the new Miramichi Valley Trophy, not new at all, 1924. Now we put a new base on it. I think I showed it to Greg. We're looking for names. Anybody got it? I get some off that book here, I think, tonight, to try to get the names on that. And congratulations to Gary Dunn and Chatham McDaggers for bringing it back and having the new renovation. It's in the Sullivan Hall in Chatham. So we hope they will display that at the Old Timers thing and invite the Galvin family who would be glad to be there. So, and at least Sonia and them will see that. So to all the players and everybody else, no doubt we'll talk about those things, talk about a few refreshments tonight. And, you know, to our sponsors over the years, Alpine, the Ambassador Tavern, you know, the Ambassador Tavern closed after we let down and stopped drinking. Anyway, to my daughter, Sharon and friend David here tonight. So I'm glad that they're here. My wife's in Jamaica. So can't hear what she said to the rest visitors. So I want to tell you everything. Congratulations to each and every one of you. This is not an individual thing. We have great pitch on that, but we can't specify one player the reason we won. No, we won because we were a team. And that's what we're going to be. We were the 76 champions. We were the Navan Braves. Thank you.
Everybody's home. You go over there to my
Just as we wrap up the evening, I have a couple of announcements. Please. We'd like you, if you have your ticket with you, we'd like you to print your name and email on that and leave it over by the bar. We ask all inductees or their representatives to meet at the front for pictures and bring your awards with you as soon as I'm finished here. As you pick up your coats at the coat check, please be generous to the Miramichi Ground Search and Rescue who have donated their services tonight. This event and previous events are going to be posted on YouTube, so eventually you will be able to follow this at that time. Just one other thing, okay? We frequently get questions about why somebody is or isn't in the Wall of Fame, so that you're clear on the procedure, okay? Our committee deals with people who are nominated by people from the community. The group does not nominate or pick the candidates. After we have the nominations, then we have a board that sits down with a fairly elaborate scoring process to decide who's going to be inducted to this particular event. So if you have somebody that you feel should be in our Wall of Fame, please nominate them. And invite you to mingle, enjoy a few moments together. The cash bar is open. Thank you for attending and have a great night.
Yeah, for 30?